Today in science, we started with our mystery substance. I was cleaning out my science supplies and I was getting things organized, and I wound up with this one that doesn't have a label. So we're going to see if we can't figure out what it is based on some of its properties. So I'm going to show it to the camera a little bit, and it looks we can see it's a crystal. It's white. It's a powdery kind of looking stuff. Okay. We're not going to taste it. I might smell it a little. Smells a little sweet-ish, and powdery maybe, but that's about it. So I don't know what this is. Well, one of the things that we can do in science is to use a substance's properties to figure out what that substance might be. And we have been working with saturation and solubility, so we're going to try that. We're going to see how much of this it takes to saturate 50 milliliters of water. And we're going to do that the same way that we have been doing that this whole time. So I'm going to set up my funnel to help me make sure that I can get my substance into my bottle. And then I am going to put 50 milliliters of water into my bottle. Here we go. Here's my water. Just pull that out with a syringe. Put the 50 milliliters in the bottle real quick. And then we're going to start scooping. Now, I'm going to use a bigger scoop this time. And it doesn't really matter. We don't need to keep track too much of how many scoops we use, because we're going to be weighing it at the end. So at the end, we're going to find out how much dissolved based on weight, not necessarily based on scoops. But just for reference, this is a tablespoon, so it is about 3 times the size of those little scoops that we have been using. So this is about 15 milliliters. Those little scoops are about 5 milliliters. So I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon of my substance. You know, it almost looks roundish. The crystals are almost round. They're kind of square with round edges, maybe. And you can see there's kind of some clumps in here. So there's my 1 scoop into the bottle, right? And it went straight to the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to put the lid on this, and I'm going to shake it up, and I will be back after having added and shaken it up. All right, I've finished shaking, and it's pretty well distributed, as you can see. Can't really see any more in the bottle, so I'm going to add another big scoop. So this is 2 big scoops. And shake it on, drop it in through there, and put the lid back on. Shake it up. There we go. Be back. All right, so here we go. I've shaken it up, and it's pretty well dissolved. I can see some air bubbles, and I'm starting to notice the water like clings to the side of the bottle when I shake it a little bit. We're going to add 1 more scoop, see what happens after this next scoop. Another big scoop. Make sure it's pretty level. There we go, in it goes, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so even though I've only been gone from the video for a few seconds, it's actually taken about 7 minutes for me to get this to dissolve, and it's pretty completely dissolved. So we're going to add 1 more big scoop, and then we're going to probably reach saturation, I'm guessing, with this last big scoop, just because of the way my solution is starting to behave. So 1 more scoop goes in there, put the lid on it, and keep shaking. I'll be back. Right, now this time it took longer, and it's not all the way dissolved. You can still see quite a bit of particles in there. The other thing I'm noticing is I started out with room temperature water. And as I shake this and as I hold it, this water is a little bit chilly. It's getting colder. I don't know if that's because of the substance. Could be. I don't know. So now I have reached saturation, and I need to filter out the remaining solute, because I only want to measure how much of the solute actually went and dissolved into the water, right? That's our saturation point. So I am going to put a filter in my funnel, and then I'm going to wet my filter. And remember, the reason I'm wetting the filter, because I want to make sure that every last drop of the water, or the solution in this case, goes through the filter. And if I were to put this in while the filter was dry, some of my solution would actually be absorbed by the filter. So I wouldn't have all of the solution, my 50 milliliters of water, plus the solute in my cup. Some of it would be left behind in the filter, and we don't. I'm going to turn my computer, my camera a little bit so you can watch me do this. I'm just going to get my little bit of water here, wet this down so that the filter is wet. Okay. And let that drain. And I'm going to grab a clean cup. And, oops, that one's got a little bit of water in it. So I'll grab this clean cup right here. And we're going to use this one to filter the water. So shake it up a little bit to make sure all that solute comes out and pour it through the filter. Now, you'll notice, compared to the last ones, it's running a little more slowly, right? And here you can see some of the solute left in the bottle, right? And it's running more slowly down there. And it seems a little thicker. And of course, this, I don't know about you, this is a bit of a surprise. And then it's not, because I thought about the fact that I put in 4 scoops. That's the equivalent of 12 of those small scoops. So there's a lot of stuff in solution in here. Oh, and I've got a little bit of water left in there. I need to make sure I get that dumped out there. Right? Dump it all through. I want to make sure we get every last drop. So it's taking a minute to drain. And I don't know if you can see, but it's not quite as clear as just plain water. Right. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this cup ready because we're going to be weighing our 50 milliliters of water. And that will give us a visual as well as to the different color between my solution with my mystery substance and just plain water. So here's 50 milliliters of water into this cup. Okay. And you can see this has a little bit of color to it. It's not quite clear. It looks a little yellowish to me. And we can also see that the water level, even though I've still got some water coming out here, the water level in this cup is already higher than the water level in this cup. And again, that's not surprising because we did add things to the one that's being filtered. So we would expect that because we added more to it, there would be more coming out, right? Matter does not just disappear into thin air. Even though we can no longer see the solute, this is one way that we can show that the solute is still in there because the water level changed. And that wouldn't happen if the solute just poof, vanished into thin air. Right? Oops, a little bit more. Trying to help it along, get it to drain. And it's got just a tiny bit more in that filter. And then I will show you what the filter looks like too, so you can see some of the solute left behind in the filter. On those last few little drops out there. All right, I'm gonna let that drain for just a minute. I'll be back. All right, that's finished draining. We pull this out. I'm going to put it on a paper towel just to protect the surface, particularly of my computer, as I open this up. And we can see the solute on the paper towel, maybe. I don't know if you can see that. But there's little bits right here that are still the solute that did not come through the funnel because, of course, we filtered it. And that's what we wanted, right? The remaining solute that didn't dissolve, we want that in our filter. All right, so now we need to weigh this because we need to figure out how many grams of this mystery substance were dissolved and reached saturation. So I'm going to grab my balance and pull this over. All right, here's the balance. Turn this around so that you can see the pointer. Okay. And it is pretty well balanced at the moment. So I'm going to put, this is just, whoops. Here's my 50 milliliters of water. Let's start there. 50 milliliters of water, we're going to weigh that first. Now, we would expect our 50 milliliters of water to weigh about 50 grams because 50 milliliters of water weighs 50 grams at sea level. I'm going to get my weights out, and we're going to start with the 50 just to see if we're really lucky it'll be right on today. Let's see. Yep, 50 grams. Our 50 milliliters of water weighs 50 grams. Marvelous. So I'm going to pick this one up. This is just my water. And I am going to move it. And I'm going to put in, this is our solution. And I don't know, can you see the yellowish tinge to it? It's kind of a yellowy color. I'll put that in there. Now, our 50 grams, not heavy enough. So I can get this adjusted so we can see. There we go. So I've got 50 grams in there. So we're going to add 20 more. 70. It's not even moving, is it? 90. 100. Starting to think about it. 110. Is that too much? Yeah, 110 is a little too much. So we're going to pull that out. 105. Okay. 105. Now let's take another look here. 105. Right. 105. Right. There's 110. Oh, that didn't work at all. 105. All right. So about 105. I think we need to go a little higher. Right. 100. Oh, we were just at 110. So now we're at 112. Right. Let's see. Nope, 112 is too much. So about 110. We're going to call it 110. Okay. 110. Yeah. Oops. So our solution weighs 110 grams. And 50 milliliters of water that we started with weighed 50 grams. So how do we figure out how much our solute weighed? That's the important part, and you're going to have to do a mathematical equation for that. But I'm going to use some of these to help talk you through it because we got a little stuck on this today. So there's my 50 grams, right? 50 grams of water. There's 50. Okay. And we ended up at 110. So 50, here's 50. Sorry, I dropped that 50. I have to pick it up. Right, there's 100, right? 110. So how much, here's my 50 for the water, how much did the solute weigh? 50 plus 10, it weighed about 60 grams. Okay, so we need to take a look at our solubility charts, and we're going to try and see if we can't use that solubility information to figure out which one of those solids it might be. So you're going to look at the class kick and you're going to go to slide number 6, and you're going to use the information in this video to help you solve and figure out all of those things on slide number 6. Comment when you think you know what our mystery solution is. All right, I will see you later.